The air in Charlotte has shifted dramatically over the past 48 hours, and if you have been tracking the front office movements, you know that Dave Canales is orchestrating a complete overhaul in the defensive identity. We are looking at a flurry of transactions that have left even the most seasoned observers questioning the long-term vision. From grading the most recent additions to evaluating the high-stakes gamble on new personnel, the Panthers are not playing it safe. We also have a developing situation regarding a high-impact departure that has sent shockwaves through the locker room. If you are a die-hard fan looking for the real story behind these headlines, consider hitting that subscribe button. We are closing in on 1,000 subscribers, and your support keeps this coverage independent.
As we sit here on March 15, 2026, it is time to peel back the layers on what has been a chaotic and aggressive free agency period for the Carolina Panthers. Under the guidance of head coach Dave Canales, the organization has clearly prioritized a total reset of the roster's foundational elements. When we rank these top 8 moves, we have to start by looking at the sheer volume of personnel turnover. The strategy here appears to be a direct response to the deficiencies that plagued the team last season. Canales has been vocal about wanting a culture of accountability, and these moves reflect that ethos. When we look at the additions, the primary focus has been on establishing a more physical presence in the trenches, which historically has been the missing piece for this franchise. The coaching staff has clearly identified that without winning the line of scrimmage, the skill position players are rendered ineffective. One of the most underrated moves in our top 8 is the decision to prioritize veteran leadership in the secondary, a tactical shift that aims to stabilize a unit that was prone to explosive plays last year. From an analytical perspective, the team is balancing short-term cap hits against the necessity of immediate performance improvement. The financial flexibility that the front office has managed to maintain is impressive, especially considering the aggressive nature of the market this year. Every contract signed seems to have a specific role in mind, whether it is a bridge player meant to mentor younger talent or a high-ceiling acquisition designed to be a cornerstone for the next 3 seasons. The fans have been rightfully skeptical of the team's trajectory, but if you examine the efficiency of these signings, you can see a clear, albeit risky, plan. The reliance on mid-tier free agents rather than overpaying for marquee names suggests that the organization is betting on depth and scheme versatility. This approach is reminiscent of successful rebuilds, where the collective strength of the unit outweighs the individual star power. As we continue to monitor these developments, it is worth noting that the coaching staff is already implementing these new pieces into the base defensive package. The integration period will be short, and the pressure on these new arrivals to perform immediately is immense. We are seeing a shift away from the stagnant roster construction of previous years toward a more dynamic, modern scheme that prioritizes speed and situational awareness. The internal debates regarding these rankings have been intense, as some argue that the team should have been even more aggressive at the quarterback position, while others believe that the current foundation is sufficient to support a mid-tier signal caller. Regardless of where you stand, the commitment to change is undeniable. Dave Canales is betting his reputation on this roster composition, and the early returns from the facility suggest that the players are buying into the new defensive philosophy. But that is not the only situation developing right now, as the team has made a move that carries significant baggage. If you are enjoying this breakdown of the Panthers offseason, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement really helps us bring you these deep dive reports. Let's get right into the next major development. The addition of Devin Lloyd to the Carolina Panthers roster is undoubtedly the most polarizing move of the offseason. On paper, the acquisition looks like a major upgrade, bringing a high-motor player who can cover sideline to sideline. However, when you dig into the scheme fit and the financial implications, the risk becomes clear. The organization is betting heavily that Devin Lloyd can adapt to the specific responsibilities demanded by this defensive coordinator, which differs significantly from his previous roles in the league. Tactically, the team needs a linebacker who can operate as a true middle-of-the-field anchor, and while Devin Lloyd has shown flashes of brilliance, his consistency in reading complex offensive progressions remains a lingering question mark. The scouting report indicates that while his athleticism is top tier, his tendency to over-pursue can leave the defensive secondary vulnerable to play action passes. This is a critical concern for a team that struggled immensely with deep ball discipline last season. The coaching staff is essentially asking him to refine his technique and become a more disciplined playmaker, which is a massive ask for a player at this stage of his career. Furthermore, we have to talk about the cap implications. The contract structured for Devin Lloyd suggests he is being paid as an elite starter, which creates a high-pressure environment from day one.
If he fails to deliver, the dead money hit will be a significant burden on the team's future flexibility. This is a classic high-risk, high-reward scenario that defines the current front office's philosophy. They are not content with mediocrity, even if it means potentially over-leveraging the roster for a player who has yet to prove he can lead a defense for an entire 16-game stretch. The historical context for this type of move is not always kind. We have seen many teams in this division bring in talented, high-profile defensive players only to see them struggle when forced into a scheme that does not maximize their unique skill set. The coaching staff must be incredibly confident in their ability to coach up these specific deficiencies. Otherwise, this move will be scrutinized heavily by the media throughout the preseason. Fans should keep a close eye on how he is used in the upcoming minicamps, as the specific assignments he is given will tell us exactly how much trust the staff has in his ability to process information on the fly. It is a bold gamble, and if it pays off, the Panthers could have a defensive peace center for years to come. If it backfires, it could set the rebuild back by at least one full cycle. It is a precarious balancing act between talent acquisition and long-term stability, and the front office is clearly swinging for the fences. The pressure is on for everyone involved to make this work before the regular season kicks off.
In a move that has sent shockwaves through the fan base and the locker room alike, the Carolina Panthers have parted ways with a massive 320-pound defensive tackle who accounted for 15 sacks during his tenure with the club. This decision, spearheaded by General Manager Dan Morgan, signals a cold, calculated approach to roster management. The financial cost outweighed the on-field benefits at this specific juncture. When you analyze the move from a salary cap perspective, it is clear that Dan Morgan is trying to clear significant space to address other glaring holes in the roster. This is not just about the money, though. It is about a shift in defensive identity. The coaching staff is moving toward a more agile, high-rotation defensive front, and the veteran in question simply did not fit the new movement requirements of the scheme. It is a brutal business, and this transaction underscores that no player is safe when the front office decides to pivot in a new direction. The 15 sacks he provided were a significant asset, and replacing that kind of interior pressure is going to be an incredibly difficult task for the scouting department. The team will now have to look toward the draft or late-stage free agency to fill the massive void left in the middle of the line. The historical context of this move is interesting. The Panthers have rarely been so willing to move on from high-production veterans in the middle of their primes. This signals a complete transition of power within the facility. The players are watching this situation closely as it sets the tone for the level of turnover the organization is willing to tolerate. From a tactical standpoint, the defense will now rely on a committee approach to generate interior pressure, which is a massive gamble that could leave the team vulnerable against power running schemes. The front office is essentially betting that they can find a cheaper, younger alternative who can replicate at least 70% of that production while providing more versatility against the pass. It is a high-stakes move that will be judged by the team's ability to maintain their defensive efficiency in the red zone. If the run defense collapses, the criticism directed at the front office will be loud and persistent. The decision to cut a player with that much experience is a clear indicator that the rebuild is reaching a critical inflection point where hard choices are no longer optional. Dan Morgan is showing that he is not afraid to break apart established components to rebuild the structure from the ground up. The upcoming weeks will reveal if there is a concrete plan to replace this level of production, or if the team is prepared to take a step back in defensive performance to gain long-term financial freedom.
It has been an incredibly busy week for the Panthers, and the departure of such a key defensive veteran under the leadership of Dan Morgan leaves us with more questions than answers. The team is clearly betting on a major cultural and tactical shift, and only time will tell if these risks pay off. I want to hear from you. What is your take on the release of such a productive defensive tackle, and do you believe the acquisition of Devin Lloyd is the right move for this defense? Drop a comment below and let's get a conversation going. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more exclusive insider coverage.